Hey, what's going on? It's Dave back with another episode of Blockbuster Underground. We're doing a video movie review today. Trying to keep track of things. So, yeah, New Salem's Lot. This movie's been on the back burner, kind of bouncing around. They weren't quite sure what the fuck to do with it for a while. Um, was originally going to get a theatrical release, and then it got bumped because of COVID and the writer's strike, and then everything else happened, and then they finally said, screw it, we'll just put it straight to streaming. So it's on HBO Max as we speak for anyone who subscribes to that service, free to view. Is it worth watching? There's been multiple versions of this book turned into movie or miniseries. 1979, they did a miniseries on TV that kind of got converted into a movie. They did another one in the early 2000s. There was a Return to Salem's Lot kind of spin off. And then they did a reboot miniseries again with Rob Lowe as Ben. Ben Mears, one of the main characters. And now, 20 years later, here we go. We got another version. I remember watching the original miniseries. I read the book. My mother read the book, actually. I remember a story she told me. We were living in Newfoundland at the time, and she was, I guess, me and my sisters were off doing whatever, and she was in the living room reading Salem's Lot. And she got so engrossed in the book that she forgot what time it is. And when she looked up, the sun had gone down, and she was like, total panic mode. Where are the children? But yeah, so the new movie still takes place in the 70s, which is a neat twist. You can tell by all the cars, the shop fronts, and everything else, clothing. So, and one thing that also tacked me off on it was Dog Day Afternoon was playing at the drive-in movie theater. I was like, ooh, yeah, this is definitely 70s. So yeah, set in the 70s. Basic premise is that this guy Ben Mears, played by Lewis Pullman, who was Bob in Maverick, and he's going to be Bob in Thunderbolts. He comes back. He's an author. Comes back home. He grew up there till he was 10 years old, and his parents died in a car wreck, and he moved away. A lot of backstory they don't really get into in this, which is one of the only downfalls I found of the film, because there is a lot of history that they could delve into if they'd done a miniseries. But this is a tight 2 hour movie, hour 50 through 56, give or take, minus credits, obviously. But yeah, there was a lot of backstory regarding Ben and the town and Barlow, especially. Barlow's the main vampire. He shows up at the beginning of the movie, kind of Dracula style. Freighter comes over. These guys dump the body off. There's just a crate, basically. They dump the crate down in the basement of this creepy old house. Looks like the house from Psycho. And next thing you know, he's got this guy Straker, who's his familiar. Basically, goes out and does all his shit during the day. So his first thing that he needs to do is Barlow needs a snack because he's been chilling on the boat for a little while and en route. So Straker's kind of driving around the city, the town, small, um, looking for these kids basically, and he spots these two kids walking home, and he's like, "Hey, you guys want to ride?" And he's like, "No, we're okay, thanks, creepy motherfucker. Let's go." So they take off. So they cut through the forest for some reason, and the sun's starting to go down, and it's Danny and Ralphie Glick, and Ralphie kind of starts lagging behind, and all of a sudden you see Straker come up behind him and just grab him, and whoosh, gone. And Ralphie ends up getting fed to Barlow, which is a pretty creepy sequence. Ralphie can kind of see through like one hole in the bag, this burlap sack that he's in, and you can see Barlow kind of crawling down the stairs like a fucking monster, like the monster he is. So it's actually, come to think of it, it's very well. There's gore, but like you don't see him tear Ralphie to pieces. You see a big spray of blood across Straker's face to insinuate that's exactly what's happening. But um, so Ralphie dies. The whole town thinks he's gone missing. So they're driving around, search crews and everything else. And then a couple days later, Danny's lying in bed looking at Ralphie's empty bed, and he hears a noise outside. And then he sees what he thinks is Ralphie, so he runs outside and he's like, "Ralphie, you there?" And all of a sudden, something grabs him and he's gone. The mother wakes up. She's like, "Ah!" And Danny's standing in her bedroom right next to her bed, going, "I don't feel too good." So they take her to the hospital, and it's, what do they call it? Something progress progressive. I'll have to look it up again. Basically, their red blood cell count is just dropping like a fucking like a rock. Um, pro, um, I'll get back to you. Anyway, so the mom's in the hospital with Danny, and they're waiting, and she's like, "Oh my god," they're giving him blood transfusions and shit because the doctor at one point, Alfre Woodard, she shows up in this, good role too. She's like, a kid his age should have like 85% level of red blood cells, and his levels are like 40 and dropping fast. So at one point, Danny kind of wakes up and he's like, another season, he's like, "Oh my god, Danny, you okay? Are you okay?" He's like, "I'm thirsty." And she runs out to get the nurse and she's like, "I need some water." And they come back in and Danny's like fucking got the blood bag off the thing, just gorging on it like a fucking, like one of those juice sacks you get in your lunches. Blood spraying just everywhere, and then he fucking just collapses on the bed and he's gone. Um, well, stage one of the transformation. But so they have a funeral for him, and then the priest's a drunk too. Earlier on, they go to the drive-in movie theater. Pullman and this Susan Mackenzie, what's the actress's name? Mackenzie Lee plays Susan. They kind of have a thing going. They go to the drive-in movie theater, and she's like picking out because he's like, "I want to do research on the town." She's like, "Well, look there. You see that car there? There's the priest, and he's getting shit-faced drunk." And then you got this couple over here. They're breaking up for the 17th time this week. Like just all the gossip and bullshit from all the different people in the town, sort of thing. So the priest is there and just kind of shaking his head, going, "My God, two kids in the matter of a couple of days, both dead." And the gravedigger is Spencer Treat Clark, who played Lucius in Gladiator. Um, so he's like digging the grave and stuff. He goes off while they're doing the ceremony and has his lunch. Weirdly enough, I don't know how you get a meal while someone's 10 feet away burying their child. So for some reason, he falls asleep under the tree after his lunch and wakes up and the sun's gone down. And he still hasn't filled in the dirt to Danny's grave yet. So he's like, "Oh, fuck." So he goes over there, starts ladling the dirt back in, and then you hear a bang, bang, bang from the inside of the coffin. And he's like, "What?" And then you hear Danny going, help me, get me out of here, get me out of here." And he's like, "Okay, fuck, wait a minute, wait a minute." He jumps down, opens the coffin, and Danny's dead body just lying there. Hasn't moved an inch. He gets back out of the coffin. All of a sudden, Danny comes blasting out of the coffin, and jumps him and bites him, and then takes off. Um, Fuck, there's a lot of shit going on here. Mike is my favorite character in this. He has got to be the most ingenious, whatever. I'm having a rough day today. Jordan Preston Carter. Yeah, he is one of the little kids. He's the one that Danny comes to try to turn, and ends up burning him on the face with one of the crosses from one of his dioramas he's got in his bedroom. This kid, fuck, after Danny attacks him, he's like, "Okay," grabs all his comic books on vampires, and he's like, "Okay, here's how we can kill them. Here's what they're susceptible to. Here's the powers they've got." And he finally has everything written down. He's like, "Okay, one thing left to do, so I got to go kill Barlow." And it's like, this kid's 11. So the next thing you know, winds up at the house in the afternoon, pulls open the gate, the doorway to the basement, and he's got a stake in his hand. He's ready to rock and roll. Goes down there, runs into one of the teachers from the school, who's also run into the gravedigger, who's already starting to turn. So he's investigating what's going on with Barlow. So they run into each other, and the bad guys get the jump on them. The teacher gets killed. He gets turned. Mark, um, is basically captured and hung up like fucking hogtied, ready for the sun to go down so Barlow can have his fucking dinner. And he manages to escape and kills Straker, the familiar. Escapes out of the house, and the Pullman and Susan and the doctor at this point have all teamed up. At this point, too, um, Danny's mom has died. So Pullman's like, let's go exhume Danny's body to see if it's still there. And the doctor's like, well, why don't we just go to the fucking morgue where the mother is at and wait for the sun to go down and see what happens? Sun goes down, the mother turns, jumps up, bites Alfred Woodard. For some weird reason, this made me scratch my head. Woodard's like, give me my bag, give me my bag. And she like grabs a bottle of like rubbing alcohol, pours it all over the bite wound. And then she grabs a rabies shot and gives herself a rabies shot. And that stops her from turning. Okay. So, mm, so they decide, okay, let's go get fucking Barlow. So they go up to the house, go into the basement. The teacher has already turned. He attacks them. Pullman ends up staking him through the heart and killing him. So they escape again. And they're like, we're going to go to the church. This is like sacred ground. They can't touch us here. We'll be safe. And so Pullman and Susan, she's like, I got to go get my mom to bring her with us. And so they all kind of split up. And what happens next? That's house. So they get to Susan's mom's house, and Susan's mom has now become the new familiar for Barlow. And Susan gets bitten. Pullman gets her out of there. They get to the church, and he's like, "Give me one of the shots." To the doctor, and she's like, "It's not going to work." At this point, Susan's like writhing on the floor, starting to cook because she's on holy ground. So she's already turning. She gets out of there, escapes, and all the vampires are outside. They wait till morning. Um, oh right, yeah, the priest and Mark go to Mark's house for his to get his parents. They get attacked. Barlow kills his mom. His dad gets killed, and then Barlow kills the priest. And then Mark ends up in his like fucking treehouse, slams all the doors shut and the windows shut, and all the kid vampires. A really creepy shot too. He's in there by himself, and all the kid vampires are just all sitting in the tree, and you can all just see their eyes glowing. And so he waits out till the morning. Susan and Ben, no, the doctor and Ben go to his house to find out where he is, and he leaves a note saying, I've gone to kill Barlow. And so they take off again, and Mark breaks into Straker's store, gets attacked by Danny um, in the daytime, because dark inside kind of thing, I guess. I'm not sure how that really works. But so he stakes Danny, kills him, and then walks out and bumps into the doctor and Ben, and they're like, wait a minute, where would everybody go if everyone in the town has been turned into a vampire? Where would they all congregate? And then they're like, and on that note, where are all the fucking cars gone? And then all of a sudden, Ben's like, oh, light bulb, the drive-in movie theater. So they show up there. There's every car in the town parked in the fucking movie theater lot. They pop the trunk of Susan's car open, and Susan's van lying in there in like stasis. So they're like, okay, Ben, here's a steak, fucking staker, and let's be done with this, and let's go to the next car, kind of thing. He's like, I can't do it. So Alfred Woodard's like, I'll do it. And just as she's about to stake her, she gets shot. It's fucking Susan's mom patrolling around the drive-through movie theater with a fucking shotgun for anybody to fuck with any of the vampires. So you got Woodard's down. I think she basically got killed there. So we got Ben and Mark left, and they're like, and the sun's going down, obviously. So they're in the shadow of the movie screen, so the sun's setting a lot quicker, and all of a sudden, all the trunks of the cars start popping open, and vampires start crawling out, and they hungry. And Ben's like, "Run for the sunlight!" And Mark just fucking books it. Ben gets taken down, three vampires on top of him. He's trying to fight them off. He manages to stake one of them, two of them actually. They knock his bag clear of him so he can't reach the stakes. Meanwhile, Mark has gone and grabbed a car and proceeds to drive the car right through the struts that hold up the movie screen, knocking it down, flattening a whole bunch of vampires, and then also not only that, but letting in enough sunlight that the rest of them all get torched to shit. So that everyone's down for the count. Susan attacks Ben, and long fight in the kitchen. Um, and he finally manages to stake her and kill her. And then him and Mark are like, "Well, we got to do Barlow?" And they're like, "Well, where would a crate that big fit?" And they see this moving van just parked at the side of the drive-in theater. So they pull the coffin out and they're trying to reef it open, and the sun's going down, and the sun's going down. They're like, "Hurry up, hurry up!" And all of a sudden, the lid just explodes off, and they get sent flying. And fucking Barlow's there, and starts chasing after Mark. Mark crawls under the damage from the broken screen and everything, and he's like, "Ben, help!" Ben, in the meantime, is still fighting Susan. Like I said, that was a longer fight than usual. Ends up staking her, and then Barlow is like punching through the screen trying to grab Mark, and Mark's like, "Help, help, Ben!" And just as you think Barlow's just about to fucking chow down on Mark, he gets staked right through the fucking skull by Pullman. And then Pullman grabs him, throws him down on the ground, and then stakes him through the heart and ends him. And that's basically where the movie ends. They get in the car and they drive off. But I gotta say, I had a lot of fun with this movie. I actually was so impressed with the performance the kid that played Mark did that I actually messaged him on Instagram. He put up a post a couple days ago saying, "Hey, check out my new movie." And I messaged him back. I'm like, "Man, you were the MVP. Like, you had me cheering. Like, fucking, just a great job. Great job." He's actually, according to what I can find out, he's actually 16, not 11. Because in the movie, they're like, "How old are you?" He's like 11 and 3/4. Um, I mean, this could have been shot long enough ago that he could have been that age at that point, but whatever. He did a great job. Pullman is nice to see him getting work. Obviously, he's Bill Pullman's son. Um, Glad he wasn't named Bob in this because that's becoming almost a trend that we don't need. Mackenzie Lee was really good as Susan. Alfred Woodard, great. Bill Camp, really good as Matt Burke, the school teacher. John Benjamin Hickey played the Father Callahan role. Like I said, Spencer Treat Clark was Mike Ryerson from Gladiator. Who else was in this? William Sadler played the sheriff. He didn't have a really big role. But no, it's a really good movie. If you got HBO Max, then definitely check it out. I think you might be able to get it on Crave, maybe, or something. I don't know. I'm not a subscriber to that, but look around for it. If you get a chance to see it, it is a lot of fun. Like I said, it's a breezy, old kickback kind of 80s style horror film. I mean, there's not a lot of thought put into it. There could have been. This could have been a lot longer in terms of the backstory that I was mentioning. But, you can do a lot worse for a horror movie at the beginning of October. And this one I will give 2 thumbs up to. And if you check it out, let me know what you think. Comment down in the comments below. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'm still trying to get this channel monetized. It's going to take a couple hundred years at this rate, though, boys. Anyway, gonna wrap this up for now. 20-minute video, a little longer than my norm, but anywho, we'll wrap this up and we'll catch you in the next video.